Okay, so the quality check ran and the confidence score came back low. That means we're not confident enough in the transcript to just push it through automatically. At this point, we need a human to look at it. This is where the human task comes in. The human task does something none of the other tasks we've covered can do. It can pause the workflow and wait for a real person to take action. It presents them with a form, they fill it out, they submit it, and only then does the workflow continue. This is really huge for production workflows. Not everything can or should be automated. Sometimes you need a person in the loop to review, to approve, to make a judgment call and stuff like that. The human task is how you can build that into your workflow. In our case, when the transcript quality is low, we want the producer to see the transcript, decide if it's acceptable, and either approve it or reject it. If they reject it, we will then retranscribe with a different service, but we'll get to that in the next lesson. So in order to add a human task as part of your workflow, there are two things that you need. First, you need to actually add the human task in your workflow. So we can actually do that right now. I'm going to click on the plus button again, and I'm going to look for human. And you can see here, human task that requires human interaction. So I'm just going to select that one. And here we have our task definition, reference name, and again, you can change those if you want. And you can see that you have human task form parameters. So here we have a task display name. How do we want that task to be shown in our under executions, under human tasks? So you can pick anything you want. Our first human task. Okay, so now you can also see that we have this user form template. So this is the next part of that you need to add in order to have a fully functioning human task in your workflow. So before we get to that, I'm actually going to save this first. And we need to quickly cover how a human task works in Conductor. So before the human task can run, again, you need two things to exist. First, we have our human task definition in our workflow, which we just did. And you also need the user form. So that is the form that the human, or in our case, a producer, will actually see and fill out. You build that separately in Conductor under definitions. So under definitions and under user forms. So we can go here and you can see a list of all of the user forms that I have for my own Conductor instance. But we want to actually make a new form. So I'm going to click on this new form button. And you can see here already we have a form builder. And because again, this is I want to keep this very basic. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get a name for our new form. So here you can fill out different details. So I am going to name this our human form task for producer. I am not great with naming, so this is going to be it for now. You can also pick out different layouts for your form. I'm just going to keep it as is. And here are the components that you can drag and drop inside of your form. So what I need here is I want to, what am I going to add? So I want a description text. Actually, I want a couple of those, and I'll show you why. You can see I'm just dragging and dropping. And I also want text. And I also want this radio. Okay. So now that I have them already dropped here, what I can do is I can kind of put them where I want them to be. So I want this text input to be on, actually, I want my radios to be on the bottom. Okay. And I want this one to be here. So what I'm going to do here is I want to present this form to the producer, and I want to say this is what the service name is going to be. So let's say assembly AI. This is going to be to show the transcription, and here are going to be notes that the producer can add. Let's say the producer wants to add some notes back to the workflow, and here I'm just going to be I'll just have two options of like yes or no, approve or not approve the transcription that we get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit each one of these so I can edit the first one. And here we have this edit component. Actually, I want all of the alignments to be on the left side. And I'm going to name this service name, and just service. Okay, and I'm just going to save this. And I'm going to add the next one here. So this is going to be our transcript field. I'm going to also align this to the left. And I am going to give this full transcript. And I'm just going to save this. And this is just going to be, so I'm just going to say notes from editor, actually producer. Okay. I'm just going to say notes. And what I want to do here is, this is going to be multi-line. It's not going to be required. Okay. And it's not going to be read-only because I want. And this final one, I want the producer to make a decision on whether they want to approve the transcription they get back or reject it. So, approved? Question mark, approved, okay. And I want my two options to be approve or reject. Okay, so this is going to be required. And I'm just going to save this. And I'm going to save this form. And now that we saved this form, now it's going to be available to our workflow under our human form task for producer. So I'm just going to copy that just so I don't forget what it's called. And I'll go back to our workflow. Okay, so now that we're back in our workflow, what I want to do is I want to click on our human task. And here is where we're going to add our form. So I'm going to click under user form template. And I am going to look for our human form task for producer. I'm just going to select that one. And now you can see that we have these input parameters that we just created. They're given here, so we can populate them. So I'm just going to populate two of them. I'm going to populate the service name in the transcript field. And I'm going to leave the notes from producer and the approved because these are going to be ones that will need to be filled out by a person. So I'm just going to, for service name, I'm going to get both of these from our workflow.variables object. So workflow.variables service. And then for this one, workflow.variables, and that's transcription. So in the next part, what I want to do next is I want to first actually save this, and then I want to run the entire workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. And okay, so variables, service, and transcription. I just want to double check that these are the names. Transcription, service. Yep. So I'm going to execute this, and we can see what happens when we hit that human task. Okay, so at this point, again, our workflow is running. So we're under this wait task. Now we just have to wait for like 30 seconds, and then we're going to hit that HTTP poll task, just like before. These are all probably familiar to you from Fundamentals 1. And then we're going to go back to our set variables. And then we're going to hit this inline check transcript quality task. There it is. And route by quality. So we can see that we are going down this low path. So first, let's see what we have in check transcript quality. So if we go to output, we can see that the quality is low. Let's look at input actually. Let's see why. Okay, so the expression, if we click on this set variables, we can go to output, actually to input, scroll all the way down, and you can see that the confidence is 0.978. And in our inline JavaScript code, we set it up so anything under 0.98 is going to be considered low quality. So we made that to be low quality. Again, you can set it as like anything you want. It's up to you in your workflow, in your use case, what you consider to be low quality. And so now we route by quality. And so we go to this low path, and we can see, like, you can see like the human task is still buffering. And the reason for that is the workflow is paused right now, and it's waiting for a person to come in and give their input before it can continue. So we can go under executions in human tasks. And here we can see that we have an assigned task here, our first human task, and we can click on this one. So this is going to give us our task that the person would then fill out. Now we see this in Conductor, but we have APIs and SDKs and stuff like that that you can actually add later. You can add that later on to your own UI. So you don't have to always complete the user forms from here. So the first thing you need to do is first check, see what this is. So we see assembly AI. This is the service that we passed. And this long thing here, long text, is the transcription that we passed. So you can see it's long. We have notes and approved. So I'm just going to claim this task. So let's say I'm the producer, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to work on this. Okay. And now that I claimed it, this task has been assigned to me, and I have to complete it for the workflow to continue. And okay, so I'm reading all of this, and me as the producer, I can say, you know what, not good enough, not good enough. And I can either approve or reject this transcription. It doesn't matter for our use case right now. I'm just going to click on reject, and I'm going to click on complete. Okay, task completed successfully. And now I can go back to our workflow in executions. Okay, and we can look at our latest workflow execution. And let's scroll all the way down to our human task. And we can see that it's already green, so it already completed. So let's click on this one. So in input, we can see state completed. We can see service name that we passed was assembly AI. To the transcript field, we passed in our transcription. Okay, created by me. And let's look at, so we can see here approved. There is nothing here yet. Notes from producer, nothing here. So I'm going to click on output and see, we can see here approved. It's set as reject because we rejected it. Service name, again, assembly AI, the transcription field, and here notes from producer, not good enough. Now you can use these notes from producer, and you can use the approved fields to like further steer where your workflow is going to go and what it will do. So that's exactly what we're going to do in our next step, which is we're going to add revisions, which is the really exciting part. And like, it really takes this workflow to like a whole new level. So I'll see you there.